Reno explains Tinubu's floating Naira policy and mocks Peter Obi. Reno, a permanent member of the PDP, has provided insight into the floating of the Naira policy implemented by the APC-led administration. Following Bola Tinubu's directive to the Central Bank of Nigeria to abolish the multiple exchange rate system, the Apex Bank instructed Nigerian banks to trade the dollar at the investors and exporters rate. In a Twitter post on Friday, Omokri argued that the multiple exchange rate system was essentially a disguised subsidy that primarily favored the business class. He claimed that last year the CBN reportedly spent $8 billion to artificially maintain the value of the Naira. According to Omoki, the expenditure on defending the Naira against the dollar exceeded Nigeria's annual infrastructure budget. That is embarrassing. He further stated that such funds ultimately flowed out of the Nigerian economy and primarily benefited traders and foreign investors rather than local manufacturers. Omokri asserted that the multiple exchange rate system had a detrimental impact on made-in-Nigeria products as it made imported goods more affordable than domestically produced ones. As an example, he highlighted the closure of the Dangote tomato paste factory in Kano State, where imported tomato paste from Peter Obi, the presidential flag bearer of the Labour Party in the last election, was sold at a lower price, rendering the local production uncompetitive. This is so confusing. What? This is the most confusing thing. Let me actually read his tweet. When floating the Naira benefits you. I'm so confused as to how Peter Obi is involved in this. I'm sorry. At this point, I just think you just name drop Peter Obi. That's it. Okay, I see. So he basically goes on this economic, what's a technical language. We get that. But then he literally just says our reserves will be used to defend local production instead of foreign consumption. The price of goods in Peter Obi's next cash and carry will rise because they are almost 100% imported. Now, you see how petty this man is. I mean, this man literally is a child and has lost so much respect. I mean, this man is literally giving information. I don't know if, I can't believe it. He's giving us values and numbers. I cannot verify. Go to the CBN and check if they actually spent $8 billion on artificially maintaining the value of the Naira. Whatever it is, obviously this fact, you can have your opinions about them. But it's just, I just think at this point, they're using Peter Obi for clout. They're using Peter Obi for likes and engagement, because how, like when someone decides to be petty, if 2 plus 2 is 4 and 5 plus 5 is 10, how did you arrive at your answer? Because you were literally talking about the floating Naira, so how did we now get to, this is not benefit? And it's very stereotypical because you're basically using the stereotypical Igbo business of the cash and carry to then describe, Mr. Obi's next business venture. I mean, do you know how insulting this is? I think this man has, just taken in so much abuse. The fact that he's actually a businessman, owns businesses, and is wealthy from his businesses, but you reduce it to a stereotypical Igbo man business of cash and carry. And not that anything is wrong with cash and carry. You are basically using it as you're using your information that your aim is, I guess, to enlighten Nigerians, to just, diminish the man. It's so, I don't know, it's so childish. I just don't get it. Because there's no valid reason for you to call Peter Obi's name if you're really talking about, economic policies and what they mean for Nigeria. Because that's what it is. I don't understand. I really don't understand. It might just as well, be an intentional political agenda to just frustrate this man. At this point, I think they just sit there and say, how can we frustrate Peter Obi? That's what it is. That is what it is. And honestly, I don't even know. I don't know what to say about this because it's so unrelated and it's such a problem because now his attempt to even give something educational and actually focus on, what does this policy mean for Nigerians? Oh no, you just drop Peter Obi. And he knows, he's on Twitter. Why would he choose to do this on Twitter? And again, even people who support Peter Obi, they would rush there. Why are you talking about Peter Obi? You just can't be played, guys. You just cannot be played. And we can't start getting offended and say, how can he do that? How can he do that? Because of course what he's doing is so provocative. What he's talking about and the context of what he's talking about has nothing to do with Peter Obi. You mention him there, and of course the news is carried, then the headline is formed, and it literally says Reno Mokri explains Tinubu's floating Naira policy, yes, and mocks Peter Obi. I mean, that's what it is. He literally just did that. This man called Omokri is a liar and an ethnic bigot. Peter Obi is not the reason why Dangote stopped processing tomatoes. Dangote Group has said it out loud and clear that they didn't have enough tomatoes to process. Then how is it Peter Obi's fault? Reno Mokri is very angry at Peter Obi because Obi prevented him and his boss Atiku from entering the villa. Okay, let's be honest. If Peter Obi was not in this race, and to be frank, we only had Atiku, Tinubu, Kakwanso, who do you think would have been president? That's a question. Obviously that's another because this could also be that as well, because to be honest, Peter Obi really was a threat. I mean, if anything, maybe for the typical usual Nigerian elections, things didn't go as planned because you had a very strong contender, let's be very honest. But let's say Peter Obi was not there. Do you think Atiku could have had a chance to be president? Thank God Peter Obi is not responsible for Nigeria's abject poverty and hardship. And I think they're trying to, if these people could reach that far, because I think they're actually capable and they want to, they could probably even blame Peter Obi and say he's the problem of Nigeria. They could even blame him for colonization at this point, because the way they reach too far. Put what you think about it in the comment section below, and do not forget to like and subscribe.